Pills. All types of pills. Coming up on today's pod, we're talking about the opioid crisis with my great friend, Megan Kapler. Here we go. Let's get these questions from the DMs.
Yep.
All right, well, that's what I heard. So what do you want me to tell you? All right, everybody, welcome to today's pod. We have a very special person in the studio, a great friend of mine for many years, my former roommate, and now an activist. She's 121 months pregnant, and she's come to visit us in the studio. Megan started working for a woman named Nan Golden, who's like a famous photographer. And how soon after you started working there did you get involved with the opioid crisis activism?
Immediately. That's what I was hired to work
Oh, you were?
on with her. Yeah.
Interesting. In my mind, I thought you were hired to like do the gallery.
I was hired as a personal assistant and to help run the group, which was brand new.
And what is the group? Can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah. The group is called PAIN, which stands for Prescription Addiction Intervention Now. And it's addressing the Sackler family's role in igniting what we now call the overdose crisis. And their philanthropy in museums, and Nan being, you know, this artist with this amazing standing in museums having that leverage to take on the family and get their name off.
So it started with doing actions, like trying to get the Sackler name off of like the Met wing or whatever.
Right.
So you guys would go in, you start throwing papers around, laying down, pretending to be dead, chanting. And then it worked.
Yeah.
Over a period of years, you got the name taken off of pretty much every museum. Now, why is that important? Because I go, okay, it's just the name.
Right.
But I guess it's like the whole point is you want to ostracize this family from polite society in a way because they intentionally brought this scourge upon us of knowing how dangerous and lethal and addictive OxyContin was. But it's all about the dollar, right? Is that...
And that's exactly it, because we know that these big pharma families and basically all billionaires move through their world with impunity. But we were like, what if we destroyed their reputation?
Right.
And got that.
Get them kicked out of the Hamptons.
Yeah.
They're not going to dinner parties no more on the Upper East Side. And
well, there was just a New York Post article this week about Richard Sackler trying to like go to a golf club, and everyone was like, the fuck are you doing here?
They said no. Interesting.
I think they maybe let him in. I don't know. They easily forgive people there. But yeah, like what if we came into the space where, because a lot of the billionaires like create harm in the world and then slap their name on a museum. What if we like ruin that as their safe place and use that like as like our platform for our demands?
Right. Sometimes it feels like we're just up against like regular people. We can't do anything to these people with all this money.
Yeah.
But we could get the name taken down.
Yeah.
It's almost like, yeah, we can do. It feels doable.
Right.
And I guess that feels really empowering, right?
Yeah. And I also had like influence into other ways. Like we were able to do these actions and basically hold them accountable in the court of public opinion, not like in a real court, but then get the public on our side and have this like, I always think about how rare it is that the Sacklers are one of like the most hated families in our society. And it's like so bipartisan. Like there's very few people who would advocate for the family, and that's very rare.
Right.
And I'm like very proud to have been a part of that, like garnering that kind of disgust, but also having it exposed.
Garnering that type of disgust. I like it.
Yeah. But also like having that expose the systems that these people move through, not just the Sacklers, but like the Koch brothers or Leon Black, who's like a Epstein, comrade.
What does he do? Pharma? Who knows?
He's a hedge fund guy.
Fuck him.
Yeah. Yeah. Hedge
Fuck
fund.
him.
Good guy. Good guy.
You know what's funny about greed? I could not imagine making $100,000 and then trying to make $1 more.
Right.
Like I guess I just don't have that money greed thing.
I know.
Like, could you imagine having $100,000 and needing one more dollar?
No, like the Sacklers in like 2007 started to get in trouble for the practice of like wide prescribing, wide marketing in the US. And the second they realized they were just getting a slap on the wrist and weren't going to be really held accountable, There's like emails of them being like, we need to look towards our European markets now.
Yeah.
Because we fucked this one up. And it's just like, wow, the pursuit of profit.
Now, what is the deal with OxyContin? Like, why is OxyContin the pill to end all pills? Why does it have so much Riz? What is different about OxyContin that swept the nation?
Well, like
more popular than One Direction, OxyContin.
Far more
You
popular. Higher death toll.
Beatlemania. Well, I don't know. A lot of girls fall chasing them through the mall.
That's true. Well, like prior to OxyContin, opioids were way more limited in their prescription because it's kind of like, you know, we've been warned about the poppy, you know, throughout all of history and what the poppy.
Yeah, like don't eat a poppy seed bagel before you have to take a drug test.
Yeah.
Could be a false pause.
Yeah. And so like and so they, like the Sacklers were really instrumental in having opioids become more mainstream and more widely prescribed. And when they realized that it could be more widely prescribed, they could get a doctor to write a prescription for someone who had a wisdom tooth pulled or like a very minor surgery who didn't necessarily need that high of a dose of a painkiller.
Right.
And it really opened the floodgates on other painkillers being prescribed as widely as possible, when they used to just be more limited.
They used to be reserved for like the highest levels of sickness,
right,
and pain, like
yeah,
cancer,
right.
But now it's like your teeth hurt,
right.
So now you need Oxy. I mean, that's wild. And apparently, I watched Crime of the Century last night, and so the thing that we all know, we're not breaking news here, is like that this was done by design.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so annoying.
Yeah.
It's like the design was to get as many, just to expand this, to get as many prescriptions written as possible, knowing that people will get hooked. That's what makes it so fucking annoying.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's never going to go back into the box that it came out of ever. Because now we're just we're entering a fourth wave of what we now, like we used to call the opioid crisis because it started with prescriptions. Then when Oxy was reformulated, it moved to heroin. Now it's fentanyl. And I don't mean like, there is hospital grade fentanyl. That's a wonderful thing. But this fentanyl that I'm talking about, like street fentanyl, is like whatever the fuck. Like it's just like a poison drug supply.
Yeah. Like how did this happen? And you're like, this has direct roots back to the OxyContin explosion.
Yeah, it does, because basically like the Sacklers and Purdue Pharma knew that Oxy was flooding the streets almost immediately when it hit the market because it was widely prescribed, but they didn't want to do anything about it. Then when there's like a serious OxyContin problem in this country and the government's like, all right, we have to wind this down a little bit, they reformulate the pill to make it an abuse deterrent. And basically they cut like what is like a pure supply for people who are using. And then people have to turn to heroin. And heroin's a lot more dangerous than Oxy. And eventually, like, cartels are seeing they're in. And now we have, cartels were running heroin, but now we have fentanyl. And fentanyl, like, the reason why it's in a lot of drug supply is because it can be, like, cut on the same table as other drugs, but if you have no fentanyl tolerance, you're just going to overdose.
Even for like a residual amount?
Yeah.
Really?
Could. Yeah. There are some people that have a fentanyl tolerance and actively seek fentanyl, but those are like long-term opioid users.
Right.
But for people who are like naive or even people who are long-term, it's just so dangerous out there. So now the conversation is like, almost like we need to get back to a safe supply.
Right. We need to get back to the regular
to
OxyContin,
Oxy.
Please. Bring back the how sick is that? We're begging for them to bring back the OxyContin because that's how bad the fentanyl issue has gotten.
And that shows like how fucked the construction of this, like, of this whole crisis is. It's one of like, it was, I'm pretty sure it was like one of the worst public health crises before COVID. And now they're kind of like neck and neck. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, it's so destructive in this country. And yeah, I mean, we, in our group, we do look to the Sacklers as like the opening of that box and like the unleashing of this crisis.
Who's the worst Sackler?
Ooh, tough one.
Richard.
Richard.
He's the head of the company, right? Did people call him Dick Sack? Richard Sackler? Dick Sack?
Dick Sack.
Did people not call? I'm sorry. We need to get a little bit more of a sense of humor in this activism. Nobody's calling him Dick Sack?
No. I mean,
dear.
as the farthest we've gone in terms of like humor against them is calling them the Sacklers, which is not funny at all.
That's not funny, Megan. Dick Sack.
Dick Sack.
Richard Sackler. It's a missed opportunity. That's okay.
We could
They'll
have
be
that
around
as a
for a while.
chant in the Guggenheim.
Yeah.
But yeah, Richard probably the worst because we also have like the biggest paper trail on him and like what he said internally, like, you know, the actual creator of OxyContin saying like, you know, he was trying to get him to make it an over-the-counter pill.
Ooh, imagine that.
And the actual creator of OxyContin.
Chill just went up my spine thinking about over-the-counter OxyContin.
Brutal.
That is wild.
I know. And the actual maker of the pill said, like, I think that would create more deaths. And Richard Sackler, like, said, well, how would it improve our sales?
Yeah.
So we have those, like, emails from Richard. So he's probably the worst.
I have a quote from Richard, Dick Sack.
Yeah, let's hear it.
In 1996, when OxyContin launched, it's from your thing, he said, I want, quote, a blizzard of prescriptions that will bury the competition.
Right.
I guess that's not as hard-hitting as I thought it was going to be. Even as I said it, I go, yeah, and where's the punchline?
I unfortunately know
Dick
the fuller
Sack is
quote.
Bombing.
The full quote is...
He said, we have to hammer the abusers in every way possible. They are the culprits and the problem. They are the reckless criminals. It's like, honestly, he's right. All things being equal, he's right. But all things are not equal because this was done by design. It's like, yes, if there's just like substances out there and people get addicted, then there is a personal responsibility aspect that you can argue. But you can't really argue it when it was designed to get unsuspecting people hooked.
Yeah.
For a fucking broken ankle, and then they're a heroin addict.
Yeah. And then
by design.
And then like fund all of the like attorney generals, like associations, like the Democrat and Republican, and like really kind of boost this like carceral stance. Like we support the police in their crackdown. Meanwhile, the Sacklers actually invented this technology to trace every single pill that left their factory.
Really?
So they would see, you know, thousands upon thousands of pills go to towns that had a population of maybe 2,000 people. Yeah. Like some
500,000 pills for 12 people. Yeah. And because these towns were like in the South, or like poor rural areas, they were totally forgotten about.
Yeah.
And then you have cuck bitches like Chris Dodd from Connecticut, because the Purdue Pharma headquarters is in what, Stanford or Greenwich, something like that. So it's a Connecticut thing. And this cuck bitch, all these senators are so corrupt, man.
So paid off.
Like, so paid off. So, like, he, like, defended them in their hearing. He's a Democrat, I think. Doesn't matter. They're all the same.
Probably.
But, yeah, I think he's a Democrat. But he, like, defended them at their hearing and then, like, turns around and gets, like, one of the biggest donations.
Oh, yeah.
From them for his campaign. It's like, oh okay.
Oh, yeah. Also, like, the Sackler's main lawyer is a woman named Mary Jo White.
Fuck her.
The former SEC chair.
What's the SEC again?
Security and Exchange Commission.
They look after Wall Street, right? Yeah. Okay. They do the regulations.
Basically, she's the top female lawyer in the country, probably in the world, and
girl boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Girl boss alert.
Glass ceilings.
I break glass ceilings. I break glass ceilings.
You know, another funny thing.
I get the pills under the street for all my girlies.
When Purdue's like bankruptcy was being heard in White Plains, New York, we always wondered why Kirsten Gillibrand was like so quiet about it. And then I like do some independent research, look at her donor list, and the law firm that's her former law firm that's representing Purdue Pharma is her highest donor.
Right. Yeah. It's like I can't. It's so annoying.
Yeah. So I go to make a threatening like voicemail to her office, and my lawyer like intervenes and is like, okay, we don't really like threaten politicians.
What were you going to say? Because I'll threaten them. I'll say it right here. Kristen Gillibrand, you need to stop being a cuck bitch. You need to hold these people accountable. This is what we talk about time and time again. It's like you think we're all in it together. And as Lisa said on the show, you think we're all in it together, and then you find out someone went to Stanford.
Yeah.
And you're like, we're not from the same world. We're just not. Like, we don't have that playbook.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not have it.
Yeah. Actually, the Judge Drain if you could believe it or not. What a name.
I'm sorry, Dick Sachs, Judge Drain.
Judge Drain,
Okay.
who overheard the Purdue Pharma bankruptcy, just retired early and moved to the law firm that was representing Purdue.
Say it again.
Judge Drain.
Yes.
The judge that was presiding over the entire Purdue Pharma bankruptcy just retired early and moved into private practice into a law firm that was representing Purdue Pharma.
Great. I love to hear it. I mean, it's like, of course, it's not even
This is
shocking.
why we went for the museums.
Yeah, because you can't fucking do anything. It's
Nothing.
like, what would justice even look like, dude? I don't know. Get the museum name down, I guess. Get it off the snack bars. Like, what are we talking?
No, I know. And even like, you know, all these pharma companies now are being like held accountable for their role.
Is that a quote unquote accountable or real accountable?
it's a quote unquote. I mean, they're paying fines, which means like nothing to them.
Yeah.
But like all that money now that's going to the states, the transparency in that money alone, it's not going to like mitigate the crisis. It's going to like, you know, it's going to like police unions and stuff, because one of like the big Republican things is like, we need that settlement money to protect our borders. And it's like, no, we need that settlement money to like keep people alive in our country.
Right.
But it's just not going to people.
Right. I read in the thing you sent me that so let's just say for the listeners, so Purdue Pharma was getting sued out the ass every which possible way.
Yeah.
Right?
Over like 2,600 lawsuits from like states, counties,
like I said, out the ass.
Yeah, out the ass.
Okay. And so in order to like mitigate that issue, they said, we'll just declare bankruptcy.
Yes.
And so as part of their bankruptcy settlement, was $6 billion. But the thing you sent me said that the states now own OxyContin. What is that about? So like the settlement will be paid by the sales of OxyContin that will go to the states. So in order to get these reparations for the harm done by OxyContin, we have to continue selling OxyContin to pay for the reparations. Am I reading that right?
Can you believe this?
No,
this is like stuff.
Megan, we're idiots. We're idiots, Megan, because why aren't we doing something like this?
I know.
Like we're wasting our lives trying to be good people.
Yeah.
Like it's a waste of time. We have to get the OxyContin to pay for the OxyContin.
By the way, it's even more sinister than that, which is that from 2007 when like the Sacklers were like almost held accountable, but they weren't. They started peeling like close to $10 billion out of Purdue. So when Purdue was being sued up the ass, they were like, look, we don't have the money to pay the settlements because the Sacklers, the owners, fucking bankrupted their own company. Mm-hmm. So when they filed bankruptcy, the Sacklers said, hey, we'll contribute $6 billion, but we have to be forever immune from any lawsuit involved with OxyContin. And the judge said, okay. Okay, sure.
Sure, I love
and
that.
also, they concocted this scheme to turn Purdue into a public benefit company, which, yes, means that the states now all own what used to be Purdue Pharma, and future payouts will come from the sale of OxyContin itself. It is absolutely stupid.
It's so stupid that I go, it's genius.
I know.
And
it's legal genius.
They're geniuses. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. I forgot to do this at the top of the episode, but we have to do a few admin housekeeping items. Number one, my television show, League of Their Own, has been canceled by a toothpaste delivery company, Amazon.com. I will say this and this alone. Toothpaste delivery company, Amazon.com, should consider what they're doing in the entertainment business and why they're even in this business. Next order of business. My worst fear has happened. I have posted on Instagram in my sleep. Doomsday scenario. I woke up. My phone was next to my head. I looked at Instagram and I had posted a story in the night. It was the most recent photo on my camera roll, and thank fucking God, it could have been so much more. It was just a thumbnail for the YouTube for this very podcast. Thank God. It could have been an ass pic. It could have been a screenshot of like talking shit. It could have been something embarrassing. It could have, if it was an ass pic though. something I would never have the courage to do during my waking hours. And I woke up and I was just blowing up on the internet. That wouldn't be the worst thing. I need to start posting some sexy photos. But I would never have the courage to do it in my waking hours. So may the melatonin take me again, and may we have great success with this new posting schedule I'm on. Next order of business, retractions. Last episode, I stated, quote, no, it's not a quote. I'll just tell you what I stated. I was talking about my dad when I was a kid. He worked in the restaurant at a country club in Westchester County. That was in the middle of him working there. The club was bought by Donald Trump, and it became one of the Trump country clubs. And I stated in the last episode that Trump gave all of his employees a free night at the Trump Casino in Atlantic City. And then I went there with my dad and my brother. My dad is telling me, not the case, not free, he paid. I said, that's worse. Okay. So we actually paid to go to that casino. Trump was not giving out free nights at his casinos. In fact, my dad hates Donald Trump, and his famous story with him is that he was serving Donald Trump a plate of food, and my dad's finger was on the side of the plate. And as he put it down, Trump said, "Get your finger out of my food." Which, I mean, what are you going to do? But that story was legend in our home. And then one year for Christmas, this is true, Trump gave the employees a signed headshot of himself. So my dad comes home with like this glossy 8x10 headshot of Donald Trump that's signed like, "To Bruce, all the best," whatever. And me and my brother hung it up in our room and we threw darts at it. So as you could see, I was ahead of the times. I am a trailblazer. That's it for housekeeping. The celebration rolls on. Happy International Overdose Awareness Day. We got Megan Kapler in the studio. So something awesome that you did through your work with Nan and with your group Pain is you guys made a movie.
Yeah.
Y'all made a movie. Y'all made a little documentary called All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, which was Oscar nominated. It won, what was the festival it won? Venice.
It won the Golden Lion at Venice Film Festival, which is a very top prize in Europe.
Right. And so you have a background in documentary filmmaking. So you were a co-producer and you were in the movie.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Well, Pain, like our group was just filming since we started in 2018. And then Laura Poitras joined the project in 2019. So Laura Poitras is an incredible filmmaker who's made films called Citizen 4 about Edward Snowden, Risk with Julian Assange. And she really likes to focus on like films with
She likes to focus on exiled traitors to our country.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I like those guys.
Yeah. She's like a complete powerhouse. And because I had a background in documentary and also was like the main access point to Pain, I became a co-producer on the film. So I was like organizing when things were relevant enough to film, and then we would just film the rest ourselves. And then it premiered at Venice Film Festival last September, and
it won that shit.
It won it.
Such a huge response, critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
People love it. Let's get down to what we really need to know. The Oscars. So you went to the Oscars. So now we are not like a friend group with people in the business, I would say, right?
Right.
So it's not like people are always going to the Oscars.
Right.
Like this was big.
I couldn't believe that I was at the Oscars.
Now,
and
who'd you talk to? What'd you see?
You're like next to Florence Pugh on the red carpet.
Hot?
Like seeing all of her contour.
She hot in real life?
Very hot.
Right.
Very hot.
Just checking. You never know. It could be an optical illusion.
All the celebs are extremely hot. I went to a few of the award shows. It's like shocking. But the Oscars is crazy because you also see how the sausage is made. For instance, seat fillers.
Yeah.
So a month before the Oscars, I was at the BAFTAs, and Nan and my friend Alex got up to go to the bathroom, and two people sat in their seat, and I said, "Excuse me," and the senior producer next to me said, "Hey, they're just seat fillers," and I was like, "Wow."
Oh, so the shot doesn't look empty. So they'll get up as soon as they come back from the
Yeah,
bathroom.
and at the Oscars,
Interesting.
everyone in their headset the second someone gets in, because everyone at the Oscars in the audience is just at the bar drinking.
Oh, so I was going to ask about that. So what's the food and bev situation?
No food.
Ugh. No apps?
Open bar.
So people hammered?
Hammered.
Yeah.
The second you lose your category, bar.
Bombed.
Never coming back. My section, I was just sitting with seat fillers.
Yeah, you
I'm not
guys
drinking.
like the addiction movie. You can't even go to the bar and fucking walk it off.
I know.
Imagine the whole addiction movie goes to the bar after they lost and just gets hammered and blows it all.
Also, the cig section, black carpet.
The cig
incredible.
section? Like ciggies? Smoking cigs?
Smoking cigs.
Wait a minute. Inside? What is
Outside.
Uh-huh.
Outside.
Okay. And it's called the black carpet?
Black
or you
carpet.
Can smoke cigs.
Yeah.
Now, what's
pretty iconic.
What celebs
Also,
did you say there?
Paul Mescal, who's
Okay,
you know
hot.
the hot. Like, you know, so cool too. I got to talk to him.
Uh-huh.
Nan's out there, of course.
Of course.
Almost the whole ceremony. Because we were the fourth category and we lost. You know
Oh,
what's
so wait a minute. So she was going outside, getting up during the Oscars proper ceremony.
proper?
Going out to rip a fucking torch of freedom.
Torture freedom.
Yeah. Nan's my girl.
I know. And also, when it's your category in the commercial break before, they pull you to the front so that if you win, you're right up close.
Interesting. And they
There.
put you in empty seats in the front.
They put you, and the seat fillers get up and then move all around. And so it makes losing a little harder
Because it's a walk of shame.
because you've already walked there.
You walk there, you got to walk back.
You know what's funny? We didn't have like the expectation that we were going to win, but there is something in that moment when you lose that it like utterly sucks. Like I
Yeah.
can't even imagine being like a starlet and like losing Best Actress or something. How much? And you just have to kind of smile but it's a bummer.
Right. In the back of my mind, I would probably just go, man, I could have been something.
No, exactly.
Man, I was almost something for 1 minute.
And I'm nothing now.
Now I just got to go smoke cigs with Paul Mescal. Sweetheart gang, assemble.
Sweet, 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 sweet.
So the opioid crisis. I was thinking about the Sackler family. So there's a bunch of kids that work in the arts, right?
Yes.
And this is so funny to me because like I said, the rich walk among us and we don't know.
Yes.
Because you got Nancy Pelosi's daughter is out there making documentaries about the heartland. And then you go, wait a minute, what? They're worth like $100 million, these people, like that family. And then this other, the Sackler girl is like making like quote unquote progressive docs. Is that correct?
About incarceration.
God, I love
Madeline Sackler.
Come on, girl. This is what I'm saying. Like the lack of shame is so genius. Like I said something slightly untrue the last episode. I just had to take 5 minutes correcting the record because I'm so shame filled. These people don't have that, and God bless them.
You know what's funny? Every summer, the Sacklers would do this retreat out in Watermill in the Hamptons called the Consciousness Workshop
Okay.
for a week
Hell
of
yeah.
expanding their consciousness.
Hell yeah.
And they would put all of their kids like in the best art programs, the best art schools. I mean, they created monsters who then were like, why are people criticizing our family? And it's like, dude, the
Right.
foundation is like pharma.
Right.
Like you're like rooted in pharma, but they did create these monsters. Like that chain of restaurants, The Smith. Is
No,
partially,
come on.
Yes,
I love the Smiths.
I know.
Stop.
Partially owned by a Sackler. There's also like a
still
Sackler.
going.
There's like a Sackler movie
I'm
producer.
Still going. Don't care.
Yeah. And then
I can't
Matt
change anything. I can't change anything. I could just have lunch. I love lunch.
and Joss Sackler, who married in. She's like the rogue Sackler. I don't know if you read about her.
Mm-mm.
She's like called me a bully on Twitter before. And I'm
Um,
like, I'm more than your bully, sweetheart.
you're like, I'm your worst nightmare.
I'm your worst fucking nightmare.
Okay. You think you want your name on the gift shop? I'm here to take it down. I'll take it down myself. I brought a ladder.
But during like all the
Are there any good
lawsuits-
ones? Sorry, finish your thought.
Well,
I'm
I was
trying
going to
work
say
on
with Joss
interrupting.
Sackler, during all the lawsuits when they were declaring bankruptcy, she launched a fashion line
Mm.
and got a slot at New York Fashion Week. But we got most of the models to pull out of her show day of,
Oh,
which was a cool.
how'd you do that?
I mean, like our group Pain is like artists and, you know, people in the art world, but also people in like fashion world occasionally. So we have like our connections to the various things and pull some strings where we can.
Okay.
So
it just struck me like a ton of bricks. Did we ever tell the audience that Purdue Pharma is owned by the Sackler family and they're the ones who make OxyContin? Did we start with that?
no. But yeah,
You gotta
Purdue
love it.
Pharma.
I'm growing as a podcaster, okay? I didn't give you the base information. A company called Purdue Pharma is owned by a family called the Sacklers, and they are the ones who invented and pushed OxyContin, okay?
Yeah.
I'll clip that and put it in the beginning.
Solely owned eight members of the Sackler family on the board of Purdue Pharma.
Wait, so are there any good ones? Rogue ones? We should get one on the show. If I was going to try to get a Sackler on the show, who would you rec?
Joss would probably come on. I have to say, I don't think there's a single good Sackler.
Ooh. Not even the documentary girl?
Not even like the children.
Um,
No, there's really not. There's like not that, like the investigative journalist Patrick Radden Keefe, who wrote Empire of Pain and whose like article kind of like broke the story on like the Sacklers intimately, could not find a single like Sackler or Sackler affiliate who would speak to him in terms of like a redemption arc or like in terms of like whistleblowing.
Because we all know, like, everyone loves a redemption arc. I'm surprised no one's tried to go for it.
I know.
They could get it. This is America, babe. Everyone gets a redemption arc. If they tried, if they did a press conference and they said, I have the info and I'm ready to spill and I'm coming to the light side. Now here's the devil's advocate argument. Here I come. Dun, 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 dun. Devil's advocate. So they made a good product and people liked it. So
they
what?
did. They made an amazing
So that
product.
would be the argument. So what? They're helping people. People are in pain and they're taking away the pain. So what's the argument? Like, I don't know.
Totally. I mean, I think when Oxy hit the market, they actually had this incredible opportunity for people who previously like did not have their pain taken seriously in the medical world, who struggled with pain, who were not necessarily like cancer.
The back is the big one.
Yeah.
If you get a back injury, you're so fucked.
Yeah. And I think they did have an opportunity to treat those people. However, they saw a market of how can we get this out as much as possible? And so now that they've caused so much harm, the pendulum is the other way, where people who are in chronic pain can no longer have access to opioids. And this is like just like a part 10,000 of the Sacklers' harm is now people are scared of fentanyl in medical, situations when fentanyl has been used for, I don't know, a long time in anesthesia, very properly, and really helps like mitigate pain. And now people don't have access to opioids too. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, they created, it's like the classic, like fucking the situation with The Ring.
Yeah.
I always think of Gollum.
It's like they fumbled the moral bag, but they secured the financial bag.
Yes.
But they hugely fumbled the morality bag of it.
And then they were able to like maintain that, like, oh, we're just trying to help people. And they really like.
Do you think they believe it though? I always try to give, I'm annoying like this. I always try to go benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
If possible. Like maybe they really believe that what they're doing is good and right. Do you think or no?
The only thing is, because like what I mentioned before, I know that they have the technology of where every pill went. And I know that you can't have that many people suffering in pain in like small towns and stuff.
Right.
I wish I could get into the minds of them. I almost did. And I like almost had a fucking breakdown because of like the 5 years of the campaign against them.
Right.
But I just don't know if they feel remorse. I don't think so. I mean, a senator literally asked Kathy Sackler during like a congressional hearing if she felt remorse. And she was like, no. But publicly admitting that she would, set her up for criminal charges. So she never will be able to do that kind of stuff.
I wonder if in the dark of the night,
right,
a little something visits them.
Oh, yeah.
You think so, right?
I mean,
I have to believe there's some good in everything.
Dude, me and you,
in everyone.
I know you.
Yeah, you do.
And I know me. And me and you think about everything we did that day.
Yeah.
And go over and over and say, oh, did I offend that person? Did I?
Right. Should I apologize?
Yes.
How could I make it right?
Right.
Oh my God, I can't believe this, that.
I can't imagine that being fully shut off for a person.
Right. It's got to be a little whisper.
Yeah.
I pray there's a whisper.
I pray.
Just for everyone's sake.
Yeah.
Because you want to believe, like, all right, misguided, corrupted, went bad somewhere along the way. But, like, just pure evil, that's hard for me to believe.
It's hard.
It's hard to believe. But, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I'm wasting my life trying to be good. So, the fuck do I know? Oh, I want to talk about harm reduction.
Yeah.
So a big thing that you guys are involved in with your group is shifting the focus from like abstinence only for addicts to harm reduction. What's up with that?
Yeah. So like very early on, we realized that basically like the crisis has been so largely ignored in terms of like response in this country. And people try to design like opioid use disorder treatment around like alcohol treatment, which is like abstinence based. And it's just like a different beast. Like opioid use disorder might require medication if you're trying to come off. And actually people can benefit from like Suboxone or buprenorphine and live full lives where they're, you know, able to like function without being able to, you know, use whatever drug was kind of bringing them to their knees. But it's so deeply stigmatized that it's just not getting like the funding. And harm reduction is, harm reduction is like meeting people where they're at. So if you're looking, it's kind of like when people say to like homeless people, like, get a job. It's like, you think that they can get a job right now?
Yeah.
They're like living under a box.
Hey, hun, use your eyes. What do you think the situation is? You think it's good?
Right.
No.
No. And so telling like someone who's like deep in the throes of like opioid use disorder,
You're like,
who's
hey,
like,
you should go to the gym.
right.
Bitch, what? I'll slice you from your eyes to your toes. What are you talking about?
Right. It's like, first of all, we need to give these people like a place to go where they feel safe and where they're not feeling like stigmatized, because the answer is almost always like incarceration. And now we have the first 2 sanctioned overdose prevention centers in New York City, which is like a huge point of pride for us. We were advocating for this since 2018, but where people can go, sign in, bring their pre-obtained drugs, use their drugs, and if they overdose, they can be revised on site by like a peer or a medical professional.
Revived.
What did I say? Revised. Should I do it over?
Imagine it's like, yeah, you've overdosed. Do you want to revise any choices you've made in your life? Because we could do a quick revision on the steps that brought us to this moment right now.
What brought us here?
So go ahead. Take me back. 6th grade. You want to start there? What can we revise for you?
Yeah. So anyway, you could go, if you should overdose, you could get revived. You can also like take a shower, get into some fresh clothes, do laundry, and basically be treated like a human being. Overdose prevention centers operate in over 100 countries around the world and have been, you know, statistically proven to save lives and also to bring people on the other end oftentimes of their addiction. Because like so you can get high, you can sit on the couch, read a book, or you can knock on the door of a counselor if you feel like it. Ooh. But they're not telling you that you have to. So the door is open, and it's about like building trust, because I mean, so often people who have to use on the street, they don't feel safe using on the street, and people who are passing them by don't feel safe. And these are like basically centers of safety.
Yeah. Why do addicts even want to be alive? What? No, I'm just like, I have the experience. Like, and I just didn't even like, just what you have to go through.
Yeah.
It's so much fucking work, and it's so depressing, and it's so much despair.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
it's the depth of despair.
And you go, what is even the point of this? It's a dark question, but it is amazing. Like, something about humans is like, for whatever, we are equipped with a survival instinct. Even when we don't want to be alive, we're still like, all right, I guess I'll go fucking get these fucking drugs and go to this fucking place.
Yeah. It's also like people who walk into the overdose prevention centers for the first time and they're greeted by like some like bubbly nurse who's like, "Hi,
Oh my God.
sign in." Do you know how much like trust, like a
Yeah.
trust threshold you have to walk into to be like, I'm gonna shoot up
Yeah.
in front of someone
Right.
that's like potentially a narc because they're just like used to like narcs on the street
Yeah.
like all the time. And yeah, getting people. I mean, there's so many hurdles like in this country to having access to any kind of like treatment or relief from like your addiction.
Yeah.
That is a miracle that anyone stays alive.
Yeah, or that they'd even want to.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And that people do recover. And
Yes.
they really do. We know, so many people.
Yeah.
I do harm reduction for myself. I'm like, I'll have a few margaritas. Just don't touch the hard stuff.
Please, of course.
I believe in harm reduction, folks.
Harm reduction is the best.
4 to 5 margaritas, but don't touch the hard stuff, please. Eat that vape. Go ahead, babe. Eat that vape.
Vaping is harm reduction from cigs.
No.
Yeah.
No, this is the next OxyContin. Is the vape.
True. Vaping is like super addictive.
It is the worst thing. And we all were told this is better.
Yes.
This will help you quit cigarettes. And we were all just like lambs to the slaughter. It's true. I have a fake vape somewhere. Shout out.
It is a
Inhale Hell.
huge campaign.
The vape. I'm ready for I'm wondering when charges are going to start
When's
being
the class
filed.
action?
Yeah, you know me. I love justice. Justice for the moms.
You
justice for the
are
all.
you are a justice.
I'm
like,
so much less
seeker.
I'm so much less about justice now than I used to be. I'm more into like just radical acceptance now.
Okay.
Because what I found with the seeking justice and trying to make other people pay is that the only one who pays is me.
Mm.
You kill yourself. You know?
But I've always excuse me. I've always known you when someone is being harmed in any way for you to stand up. You were probably like the perfect like bullied person's like advocate.
I was
as a
also,
kid.
but I was also a bully.
Me
So, you know,
too.
the complexities
You can be
of
both.
the complexities of the human experience. I don't know. Where should we end?
I don't know.
Cut. No, I'm kidding.
I'm sorry I wasn't like funny.
Please do not be sorry.
Okay.
This was fantastic, informative, meaningful. We don't need to be funny at all times. We don't need to be fake about everything.
Well, I love the episode. Sorry, I know this is not going to make it, but where you and Sebastian were getting very real about like being teenage addicts and stuff.
Oh yeah,
That was beautiful.
I mean, addiction is the scourge of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, it's always been. This is what I always. If I had to describe it in a way, it's it's always been the B plot.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it bumps up to A, but it's always the B. Now, I don't know if people know what that means, but like, there's like your main story and then there's like
Yeah.
your subplot.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a better way to say it. It's always the subplot of my life. But yeah, it's the fucking, why did I start talking about this? Oh yeah, because it started when I was so young. And you know what? The first drug other than weed I took was
What?
oxycodone. For my mom. My mom had a surgery and I took oxycodone.
Wow.
And then I started taking it. She would never take it.
Classic medicine cabinet.
Started
Raider.
taking it all the time, taking it to school.
You were
Psycho.
such like a little hustler. Scary.
I actually got suspended from school for being high on opiates.
Really?
Yeah, that was my introduction to the concept of recovery. It almost came too early for me.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready to receive it yet, but it poisoned my brain in a way where I also then couldn't enjoy being high, but I also wasn't ready to receive the information about recovery. So I was in like a weird middle spot for like truly like years. But yeah, I was flopping around in gym class. I was high as a kite on fucking opiates. I think it was Vicodins. It wasn't Oxycontin, but it was like Vicodins. And I was just flopping around, having the time of my life, falling on the floor, not feeling a thing. And then but it had been going on for so long. And it was like I was losing weight. I was all disheveled
Oh, wow.
looking. And my friends went to the guidance counselor. And I was so fucking mad.
Yes.
And I remember they called my mom in and like they like pulled me out of class. And I'll never forget it because it was so sad. It was like my mom, I saw her come in the door at the other end of the hallway and I was at one end of the hallway and I had to walk that whole hallway with her just looking at me and just crying and it was tough.
Dude, the friend snitch is such a betrayal
I
when you're a
know.
teenager. It happened to me too.
Yeah.
Where
Right?
you reach your limit. I mean, I was basically like living in a practice space on Long Island, which is where bands practice. And there's and there's like 10 rooms of just like pure debauchery like happening.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends like finally like did the mom thing, and you're just like, God, you guys are such fucking trying to ruin my party.
And it's so sad for them. It's so sad for the people that love us. And like, we've been the person who needs help, and we've been the people who are trying to help. And like, no matter what, it's fucking heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to love addicts. You don't know what to do to help them. And it's heartbreaking to be an addict.
Yeah. That's why I look at the overdose prevention centers as these like incredible centers, because no matter which way you slice it, people who are in the throes of drug addiction are probably destroying their family life in some way. And they need like sometimes that like love and care from a stranger.
Yeah.
And these places like need to exist, because you can't ask every family of someone who's addicted to have patience and tolerance when you're you know, your closet's getting robbed, your jewelry's disappearing, like all that shit.
Yeah.
And worse.
It's like, they're being pieces of shit to their family. They're not going to get this forgiveness from their family at this time, but someone needs to give it.
Yeah.
And that's, and if you can be that person, or if they have a place where they can go, that's huge, man. Even in my daily life, like, we'll wrap this up in a minute, but I love working at a bar sometimes, because you get to see people when they're not at their best.
Yeah.
And not only are they not at their best, they're at their worst.
Right.
And their family hates them, and they're an alcoholic, and they can't go home, and they're slamming their head against the fucking bar because they did it again.
Right.
And you can just be a kind person.
Yes.
Like, you have the power. Like, it's a responsibility. It's like a job almost. It's like, in these like little moments. Now I'm a bitch to half the fucking customers. I'm not really about this fucking customer service shit. But when I see someone who is at their worst, I'm like, they send all those people to me. Like, I'm capable. I'm qualified. I can do this. I can help them. Not like help them get sober, but I can just help them for one moment.
Yeah.
With the hell of their lives.
It could sustain them for that day.
It really could. So on that note, Nobel Peace Prize for both of us. I love you so much. Thank you for coming.
I love you.
I can't wait for the baby to come.
Yeah. I love you, and I love this podcast. And I'm so honored to be here.
Hell yeah. I love you. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.